I'm Edie Lush. I'm inside the Hub Culture Pavilion in Davos. Really pleased to be joined by Claudia Gonzalez Romo. Thanks so much for coming along.
It's fantastic to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you for watching.
So, you've been at Davos for 19 years?
I know.
That is incredible.
I know. Well, I'm in 7 different lives. So the forum has been an incredible platform, both, like from if you're working in government, if you're working in private sector or in civil society, which has been the last part of my life. It's really a great place to be able to actually put issues on the agenda that people not necessarily care about, and also to talk to decision makers, when you have their attention.
But it must have changed a lot, right? If we just look back 10 years, what was different 10 years ago?
Well, as a fact, 10 years ago, I was working for the World Economic Forum. Even, I worked for the World Economic Forum for 8 years. And I think that a lot of people that come to Davos have been here for more than 10, so they are frequent flyers.
Right.
So part of the things that I probably will say will resonate really clearly with, with the Davos man and women.
And women.
This year, the Davos woman.
Exactly.
You see, there's something that reminds me, this annual meeting 2017 to those annual meetings of the past, when there was a huge anger and fear and desire to actually crack the leads and make sure that people were included. So there was the anti-globalization movement.
Yeah. There were protests in the street, is that right?
There were protests in the streets, and the forum took a huge stand actually by going to New York just after 9/11, moving Davos to New York, setting it there to make a stand and say, we're not afraid, terrorists cannot deal with us. But at the same time, there was this anti-globalization movement happening. So McDonald's windows crashed, the World Economic Forum, anti-globalization protest happening, not only in Davos and against the World Economic Forum, but all around the world, where there was an absolute desire to make sure that globalization would be inclusive.
Right.
And so at that time, I think that, when the forum actually was brave enough to change the product, to change itself, to be more inclusive, to get more NGOs inside, to change the subjects from pure, finance, interest rates, and economics, business, to actually start talking about, increase the level of discussions about the same topics that we're discussing today. Inclusive growth, gender. Gender was not so much at the agenda. I don't think that there was so much.
Interesting.
I don't think that there was a lot of pressure on that. I think that the social subjects were more on education, inclusiveness, how to make globalization be more favorable for the people. But it was also the time, and you probably remember this because you came for the first time 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Of the new area of social media and trying actually to get bloggers and all these new players that were completely unknown to traditional media, bringing Mark Zuckerberg as if he would be a journalist with an orange badge, or Jimmy Wales.
Amazing.
Yes, so a lot has changed in those 10 years, but I see actually a lot of the things that are really important of the forum coming back, but I think a lot of things have changed.
So I'm interested actually, do you feel like the forum is its sort of own world? Like people might have more in common with each other here, leaders that come here, than they do with the citizens of their own country? Do you think that's a fair criticism?
Well, I think that what I think that the forum in general is another thing, but I think that in Davos what you have is truly the decision makers of all areas from all the world. So I do think that what you have in common is decision makers that come from all sectors of society getting together from different, from the globe. Yeah. So they don't have to travel as much, they get together here. I do think that there is an incredible effort to connect more, and what you're feeling from the people outside is that connection has to be stronger. We need to actually talk more. So there's always going to be more need for a dialogue.
Where do you think we're going to be in 10 years' time?
Well, I actually do hope that, probably in 10 years from now, we're going to have a world that is totally woman-based, so that we have more, more people, not only in Davos, more women, in leadership positions, more brown, browner skill, more global South representation, more people actually, probably more relaxed. If we really move into an automatization world, I hope that the world will be, would allow for people working less than, 60 hours a week, and just move into a world in which the dialogue is more about, how do we move neuroscience, how do we actually change the world for, future generations.
Claudia, thank you so much for popping by the
It's
Hub
a
Culture
pleasure.
Pavilion. And I'm Edie Lush.